So it's quite a beautiful song, no?
Yeah.
Sanskrit, I presume. I know neither Sanskrit or Bengali, but it's a very beautiful song, a very beautiful melody. And it's quite comprehensive also in terms of a heartfelt glorification of a disciple for his spiritual master. These prayers are quite comprehensive in terms of the personality of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and his mission. So I'll try to say a few things without being too much redundant. It's quite common on such days as these appearance days to tell the same stories every year, mainly because our knowledge of many of the great personalities in the past is relatively limited in comparison to what you know about somebody today. When time passes, memory fades. So much so that you would think that the world would know what has been going on in the world, right? You'd think, like, what's been going on in Gunjam the last 10 years or Divinity Gardens, right? But the fact is, you go back a couple hundred years in the world, nobody knows what was going on. History is just a comedy show. Whose history? Everybody had a history. Everybody was seeing the world from their advantage, from their particular thing. What is history? What is the meaning of history? Who knows what's going on? Even at this moment, what is going on? Nobody knows what's going on. You only know what's going on from your limited viewpoint. And most of what we see is an illusion. An illusion in the sense it's a falsity. Every one of us is seeing, even right now, we're seeing this class from our own individual perspective. And I myself also, who is giving the class, has a certain angle of vision or perspective on what's being said, what's the meaning of it all. There's a classic example of Lord Brahma gives a talk, and it's accompanied by, the talk is, there are many people there, everything ranging possibly from sons and daughters of Brahma to great rishis and sages and great kings. There's this big assembly. And he basically gives a discourse on Atmagyan. I'm summarizing. He basically gives a discourse on a knowledge of the self, knowledge of the soul. But in this group, there are both devas and asuras. There are both saints and materialists, so to speak. But everybody perceives what Brahma says differently. When Lord Brahma is describing the self, the Atma, those who are jnanis, yogis, they understand this to be the individual Atma. For others, they understand this to be the Paramatma. Others understand the Parabrahman, the Supreme Being. Yet others understand the body is the self. Everybody's listening to the lecture of Brahma, and everybody has their particular level of perception, understanding. And that's based on many things, their previous experience, that's based on their spiritual connection. It's based on many things, but many things are understood from one point. You follow? Well, if you look at history of the world, what is that? This one man's point of view? One person's? Okay, he records some dates. What actually happened on that date? Our Srila Prabhupada used to say, they don't know what happened yesterday. So first I thought, well, that just means time erases memory. But it also means that for every individual present on the planet, there's a historical perspective from yesterday. So what really happened? Nobody really knows. And everything is always moving forward in time with the influence of the modes of nature. We see everything. You see your family, you see your job, you see your country, you see so many things on the news. None of them are real. None of them are real. They're not even here. They're just passing through. Like someone comes and visits the ashram, they don't stay overnight, they don't even stay to take prasadam, They just come here and they walk around and they leave. Well, those who live here know they're not even here. They're just passing through. And those who are passing through cannot have a proper perception of what's really going on here, say at this ashram, at Govindaji Gardens. Only those who are permanently situated here, they understand what's going on, not who is passing through. So everybody is just passing through this material world. This world of māyā means illusion. But the meaning is no one really knows what's going on, you see. So, now we return to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. As is the case with many great souls, they come to lift the veil of māyā. They come to disperse the fog of māyā, the clouds of māyā, illusion, and reveal the truth. What is actually going on here? And the ultimate truth being Krishna. They reveal Krishna as the ultimate truth. But before one can understand the ultimate truth, one has to understand some truths along the way. You know, what is going on? What is life? How did I come to this human form of life? What are the purposes? What are the goals? What are the advantages, disadvantages? What are the wrong things the human being can do? Nowadays, the human being lives as if he can do no wrong. Look at Bangalore, for example, one city. Look at all the nonsense that's going on there. How many people are ready to admit that they're doing wrong by what they're eating, by how they're dancing, by what they're drinking? How many are ready to admit that they're doing wrong? And the answer is, well, not very many, maybe nobody. Maybe all 6 million people, crores of people living up there. No, I am doing. You're doing what? How you're doing. They've lost any measurement of reality, which in this world also means morality. Any measurement, any standard of morality, any standard of measurement. So they do everything and anything, and they don't think that they're doing anything wrong. They don't think that they're incurring. But any Hindus can say something about karma, right? But he's completely forgotten how he's making that karma. You see? Like one friend of the surfing ashram over there, he came over the other day to see us, and he's a businessman from Bangalore. And he said, "Oh, Swami, probably you won't be happy to know my wife bought me a fishing pole." You know? I forget what time of day it was, but I wasn't so alert at the moment. I said, "Yeah, I know what that is." But what I didn't realize, what Kunj Bihari told me later, that, well, probably today he's going fishing, or tomorrow he's going fishing. "Oh, my wife is giving fishing poles, so I'm going fishing." Do you know what that means? That means for every fish you catch, you will become a fish in your future life. How's that deal? Huh? That doesn't sound too good. To become a fish for every fish you catch? Well, my dear, that's the law of karma, of which you speak about in your Hinduism, of which you have forgotten everything. And you just know there's something called karma. And that means, when you get an import license, or your son gets admission, or he gets a post in some government job, this is your good karmas, right? But you cannot imagine what are your bad karmas waiting that we create in this life. So the people in general, they know something about karma, but they really don't know anything about karma. They know about reincarnation. Every Hindu rickshawala can tell you something about reincarnation, but none of them can bring up to the point that you can become an animal or an insect or even a plant. Now, by the time we're all finished sitting here, everybody's shifting. The bottom side is painting on the left, then painting on the right. My back is hurting. My elbows hurt on this wooden thing, right? Can you imagine standing there like a tree for 80 years or 100 years? Like this? How stiff and painful that must be, in a sense, compared to your freedom of movement and relaxed life as a human being? So becoming a tree is not a good prospect. Well, what is this tree? Where did it come from? What makes it live? Atmagyan tells us, the knowledge of the soul tells us there's consciousness in this tree. There's a living being in this tree. And he's not a tree. He's a you. He's just like you and just like me or any other living creature. He's Atma. But the body is called tree body. Now we're very happy. And we think, oh yes, reincarnation. We think we're going to be humans and again humans and again humans. So hey, that's a good deal. You know, I like being human. And next life I'll be human, but you know, I have a few bad karmas for the chickens I ate and the goats I killed and the people's money I stole and all that. I have a few bad karmas, but it's pretty good I'll be a human. Right? So this one historian I saw, it's a lecture series, he's a professor. And he's a historian, and he's an amazing historian. What he knows about the world, but he'll also tell you it's just a fraction of world history, the ancient world. But he knows a lot about Sumeria, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, India, the Vedic age, the Rig Vedic period. And he's a broadly studied person. He knows about Israel. He knows about, you know, the Zoroastrians, Alexander the Great. He's a tremendous historian. So he says, oh, what was my point now? He says, oh yes, he says, sometimes I hear people talk about the reincarnation. And they say, in one life I was a king. In another life I was a merchant in the city of Babylon. In another life I was a princess. In the next life I was a great astrologer. I was a general. I was a warrior. And what they do, he says, they mention all these things that are attached to cities, you know, and urban dwellings, cities, and the people that lived in cities. But those were a small fraction of the number of people in the ancient world. He says, what this person, mathematically, this person should say, in my past life I was a farmer. In the life before that, I was a farmer. In the life before that, I was a farmer. In the life before that, I was a farmer. Because he says, everybody in the ancient world, comparatively to city dwellers, was a farmer. And those who lived in cities, kings, that's only one. There's only one king. So what's the chance that you were a king in your last life? That's pretty rare hit. And so many people will say that. Oh, he was a prince. He was a king. I've had astrologers tell me I was a king. They told me I was Sawai Jai Singh once upon a time, the king of Jaipur. Down here, well, they told me I was a king, but they didn't tell me what my name was, but they told me I was a king in a previous life from somewhere in the Himalayas. So I told the astrologer, oh, I know the Himalayas. I've traveled around there a lot. Which place? It's not important. I was prepared to ask more questions about the story than he was prepared to tell. He only had so much. Because in South India, you were a king in the Himalayas. What do you know about Himalayas? Almost nothing. So, you know, you're lost in the story. But I know about Himalayas. You know? It's like when someone says, oh, I'm from USA. I go, which place? You know? Oh, I have son in USA. Which place?
It's not important.
I don't know. Which place? I don't know. Really, but, you know, well, what state? What county? You know? Because I know that place. To them, it's just USA. It's just one big place, you know? But it's a big place, and I know about that place, and there are hundreds and thousands of places where your son might be, you see. So it depends on your, you know, your background, your level of knowledge. So anyway, let me get back to the point, which was...
people, reincarnation, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so, you know...
They think they come back as humans.
That's how people think of reincarnation. You're just human being after human being after human being. But that's not what's going on around here. We pride ourselves in science. Well, look at the science, look at the mathematics, and you will find out you become a human being once out of 100 million lifetimes. Not every lifetime. Especially if you're not rigorously pursuing the ultimate goal of life, which is self-realization. Then it's guaranteed you are an animal or less in your next life, and the life after that, and the life after that, and the life after that. And when you finally come back as a human being, we go, hey, we haven't seen you in 100 million lifetimes. Where have you been? Oh, I've been a bird, a tree, a bee, an insect, a snake, a frog. I've been all over, you know. It's really good to be back and be a human again. That's reality. They have this thing nowadays where they hypnotize people, and they put you to sleep, and they do what's called past life regression. So they go to their past life, and they're immediately a human being. And they say, oh, I'm a farmer, I live in France. Parlez-vous français? They say something in French, you know. And then sometimes they even go to that old farm and they'll have described it, and they'll actually go there, and there's such a house exists, and yeah, someone was killed there, and all this stuff. So many times devotees have asked me, but that's contradictory to what you're saying. And these people were meat eaters, cow killers. They didn't follow varnashram even. So how do they get a human birth one after the other? Well, the answer is they don't. Well, then the question is, well, who's talking? In hypnosis, who is it that's talking about I used to live here and I used to live there? And the answer is a bhuta. A ghost is talking, not you. In the science of consciousness, unconsciousness is never sought after. Unconsciousness subjects you to ghost. Rarely is a person attacked by a ghost in the daytime. When do people get attacked by ghosts? When they're asleep. When they're in ignorance. Sleep is ignorance. You forget who you are. You think you're something you're not. And sometimes when you wake up, if you've been traveling, it takes a minute to remember, where are you? Where am I? You know, it always happens to me. The alarm goes off, and the first night I reached to my left. That's where my alarm will be in Moki. It will be on a table to my left. But at Govindaji Gardens, it's on a window to my right. So the first night I'm here, the alarm goes off, I wake up and I go, whoa, whoa, there's nothing there. Oh, it's over here, right? What to speak of 30 seconds before that? I don't know where I was or what I was. And mostly we don't even remember it. You know? So sleep, even sleep, is unconsciousness, is ignorance. And when in these unconscious states, we are more vulnerable to other undesirable influences, like bhutas. People who sleep too much, who take intoxication, like alcohol, etc., and their sleep, they're prime targets for bhutas. And who are sleeping at certain time when the sun is rising, they're also a good target for bhutas. Well, but you might think, well, I did that, I didn't get attacked by bhutas, but the thing is, there are more people in ignorance than the bhutas can attack. You know, the bhutas are running crazy attacking people. They can't get around everybody. So a lot of people say, well, I've never been attacked in my sleep. I've never been attacked. I sleep when the sun is rising all the time. Or I'm sleeping when the sun is setting all the time. Well, that's because there are just so many people, and there's a limited number of bhutas.
They haven't got around to you yet.
They haven't got to you yet. But you keep doing that, they'll get there. They'll get to you. So, really, the foundation is there, the Atmagyan, the reincarnation, the karma, that knowledge of there's more to life than what we presently see, but the knowledge is not being applied. It's being forgotten, and then it's being misapplied. And we think everything is okay, and we're living out our lives, and we're going to be happy with the end result because we watch the grandchildren go up and go to school and get an education and go to Australia and become a doctor. That's not the purpose of life. And at the end of life, that will vanish just within a second. It means nothing. Can you imagine? You're playing some game, you're playing a chess game, you're playing a card game, you're playing some game, or you're just doing your banking. And you go every day and you put 1,000 rupees in this bank. The guy, thank you, sir, and he scores the thing and everything. And you put 1,000 rupees a day in that bank for your whole life. Right? Then you decide, I'm going to retire, I'm going to Hawaii. You go to the bank, and there's nobody there. And you walk around behind and look, and it wasn't a bank at all. It was just a piece of plywood with a window cut in it and a guy standing in there. Now, what a fool you would be. How you would feel. Angry, frustrated, cheated, confused, bewildered. That's what happens at the end of life. Because this dramatic life of all these important things are just a piece of plywood with a hole cut in it. There's nothing behind it. Nothing at all. It means nothing. You know? I tell some of my godbrother friends, they're very attached to their families and everything. I said, you don't even know who these people are. And at the end of life, you will never, ever, ever see them again. Well, some of my godbrothers go, I'll be waiting for that day. So they're not very happy with their family. But most of us are happy with our family, and we assume that it's all permanent. It's not permanent. You don't even know who your son is. He could have been your enemy. You could have been his enemy. You could have been killing each other, even, I don't know, 100 years ago or something. You could have been there's stories like that, two warriors locked in eternal combat. They hate each other so bad. Their next life, it causes them to become born again as humans, to become enemies again of each other. Or worse than that, sometimes one becomes the son of another. And then he can really give his enemy trouble, misery. As you see it many times, the son will give a lot of problem to the family. Things happen, you see. So we think the family unit is this loving, shelter-giving, long-lasting thing. It's nothing of the kind. It's temporary, it's illusory, and we are oftentimes brought together in one life as a result of very bad relations we had with each other in a previous life. You can get a nagging wife, right? But that she's just turning the shoe on the last time they were together. But that's very rare. But that's possible. In other words, the husband becomes the wife in the next life, and the wife becomes the husband. They trade positions. This is possible. But people are so bad off in this age, they don't even get that chance. They usually just go to some very bad situation. In India now we have the what's it called? Not KYC, Kentucky, KFC. KFC. Colonel Sanders, nice white hair, big white mustache, good fried chicken. Well, Prabhupada said, the man responsible for that business is a man. He died now. He was a man, and he looked like that guy. His name was Colonel Sanders, and he is the image behind Kentucky Fried Chicken. So in Back to Godhead magazine, Prabhupada published there, that for every chicken that he's responsible, for the death of every chicken he's responsible, understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He will have to become a chicken. And they are boasting, 5 million chickens eaten, 10 million chickens eaten. This is the fun of Maya. And then he has to become chicken crores and crores of times. Probably Yamaraj is merciful and bundles him up. He bundles him, He gives him a lot of karmas over one really bad incident, Something horrible happens and he gets to accumulate a lot of the chicken lives in one life, That's Yamaraj's job, you see. It's like Yamaraj is like a debt management counselor. Think about that, debt management counseling. You're in debt, you go to an agency, and they go, okay, you're in debt to your uncle, you're in debt to the bank, you're in debt to the farmer next door, you're just in debt all over the place. So they kind of bundle your debts and manage your debt to try to minimize your suffering. But there's going to be austerity measures, you're going to have to suffer, you're in such debt. Well, Yamaraj is positioned like that. Everybody has such chaotic, confused karma, so much suffering they have come. So he bundles that for them in such a way that they can get rid of that maybe more quickly, because his goal is not really to make people suffer. His goal is to help people, living beings, return to the path of spiritual enlightenment. That's his ultimate purpose. Not really to punish. Punishment is part of achieving that goal for those people. So, now, just to kind of return to the appearance of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, it was in, the year 1874 is when he was born at this time, and this is a Panchami date, 5 days after the full moon. So this is called, if I'm not mistaken, this is the Krishnapaksh of the moon, when the moon goes down, 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 becoming dark. Who's dark? Krishnapaksh. And after Amavasya, the moon also has a Panchami, but that's a Shukla. The moon is getting what? more bright, more bright, more bright, more bright. So we say in English the waning and waxing moon in India, or Vedic astrology, the Krishnapaksh and the Shuklapaksh. So he's born in the Krishnapaksh, and Sridhar Maharaj explains Krishnashakti. Now, many people born on that day, many people born on this day in 1874. If you go around the world, I mean, there's lakhs of people born on this day. So, are they born in Krishna Paksh and they are in Krishna Shakti? No, they are in Maya Shakti. They're born on the same day, even at the same moment. It's quite possible. At the very moment Bhaktisiddhanta was born in Jagannath Puri in 1874, somebody else was born in Cuttack or Delhi or Pakistan or Russia, the same moment, same second. So they will come under the same astrological sign, seemingly. But then their life is lived out in darkness. In all probability, that soul, that human being born, their life is lived out in darkness. Well, Bhaktisiddhanta's life is very, very different. Bhaktisiddhanta's life is all about the light. It's all about revealing truth. So, when he was born, his umbilical thread, you know what means umbilical thread that ties the baby to the mother? This thread was wrapped around his neck in the way that men wear their Brahmin's thread. It was wrapped around his neck like that. So our Prabhupada, he used to laugh and say, yes, Guru Maharaj was born Brahmin. He would say like that, born Brahmin. And so the Sridhar Maharaj added to that by saying that what was symbolic of this is that he was born to illuminate the truth. And this thread is the sign of Upanayana. Upanayana means this thread ceremony, sacred thread ceremony. Generally it is considered the Dvija, the second birth. Well, this Upanayana has become what? It's become a social custom, basically. It's to be given to boys, young men in certain classes of society. But as Giri Maharaj was telling me, that in Brahmin families today, it's not unusual that, say, a Brahmin boy and a Brahmin girl getting married, he's 30, she's 28, and the day before he gets married, he gets Upanayana. The day before.
Yeah.
Ain't that bothering me? You're 15 years late on that one. You know, you should have been getting that when you were a kid, and what? Well, there's no point because it's just a social function, a social thing. And after getting it, what do they do with it? Nothing. They just have to do this to comply with social rules and regulations so he can get the girl, so he can get married. So he has the Upanayana one day before. What is this? Cheating business. This is not the meaning of Upanayana. So Upanayana means, it generally means second birth. And the second birth means an awakening, or to see what is really going on, a glimpse, a vision of the higher world. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj wonderfully explains this in terms of objective and subjective vision in the world, and above the world, beyond the world, Vaikuntha, and all these things. Well, in the world, we just think this is what's going on. BJP, Congress, Obama, this is the world, World Bank, this is it. The whales are in trouble, this is the world. Right? This is, all of this together equals zero. That's how important it is. Everything going on in the world equals zero. It's a non-existing reality. There's no permanence to it. However, there is reality beyond the temporary material world, and that's a permanent reality. So this begins with knowledge. What is to understand that permanent reality, what it is, what to speak of it, to enter there, this begins with knowledge. And Sridhar Maharaj nicely says, the ear trains the eye. People can't see because they don't have ears. They say, what? What does the ear got to do? I don't need an ear. I put my fingers in my ear, I can still see what's going on. No, actually, you can't see what's going on. unless you have the help of the ear. Sight is very, very deceptive. Even when you think you can see what's going on, sight is very, very limited. But the ear will come and you will receive knowledge. And it's that way especially in the market, okay? When foreigners, and not just foreigners, people from the village also, strangely enough, just people in general, even from the city, they go on to Mysore, and you walk down that street, what's that one street, the main one, not David Rogers, Saji Rao Road. Swami, Silk Sari, Silk Sari, Silk Sari, it's like, I'm not looking for a silk sari, I'm looking for an umbrella. Yes, come. You come in the store to buy an umbrella, immediately throws out 5 silk saris. Silk sari, you want silk sari? I said, I told you I'm looking for an umbrella. No, we don't have an umbrella, but silk sari? Silk sari? And most of those silk saris are not silk. They're not silk. Most of the silk saris sold on David Rogers Road and those roads and Saji Rao Road are not silk. They're something else. Especially the guys that are standing outside going, silk sari, silk sari. They're just nylon, orlan, dacron, polished cotton, jute, mixture of all 5 of those and more. But they're not silk, right? And when you go in there, they're telling pure silk. If you pull a piece of string and take a match and go to burn it, then they understand you know what you're talking about. You know what silk is. But the ignorant person, they will take the piece of nylon and burn it right in front of them and say, see, silk. And the person will watch the nylon burn and go, oh, okay, silk. He actually does the experiment to prove that it's not silk. And which proves that it's synthetic because it melts. And it sends off a black smoke, which smells like burning oil, basically. Whereas silk, when you burn it, produces a very nice grayish ash and has a very organic, like healthy smell to it. See? But who has no knowledge when he sees the experiment is just duped into believing whatever false knowledge is being presented there. He has no real knowledge. Like I always tell you, sandalwood oil. When you go to buy sandalwood oil, you want to buy real sandalwood oil, they put it on you and you smell. But you can duplicate that smell. But what you can't duplicate in sandalwood oil is the taste of it. So those who are expert know how to take some of the oil, real sandalwood oil, and to taste it, and they remember that taste. So when they go to buy pure sandalwood oil, they don't care for smelling. They care for tasting. And when you taste all these synthetic things, it's like kerosene in your mouth. Sandalwood oil has a certain very bitter, but it tells you it's healthy. There's something about the taste that's like, this is good. But synthetic is like, God, this is poison. Yes, poison. But those who have no knowledge, they try to understand sandalwood oil by smelling. The same thing with the sticks. They boil them or soak them in water soaked in chemical sandalwood oil. So it soaks up some of it. Oh, very good sandalwood. Smell. Smell is not how to understand what is sandalwood oil. Do you understand? Okay? So similarly, just based on your eyes, you cannot understand the truth. The ear is the most powerful sense to give you the real vision of anything. Is the strongest sense of knowledge is the ear, not the eye. Easily deceived. Sense of touch, sense of smell, easily deceived. The ear is the primary source of knowledge. Some people say, if I see it, I believe it. Well, I can show you a guy can make an airplane disappear right in front of you. Michael, what's his name? The magician, famous magician.
Yeah.
David Copperfield, super magician. He pulls off these illusions. Just, how did he do that? An airplane right in front of you, makes it disappear. Complicated illusions, huh?
Statue of Liberty.
He made a Statue of Liberty disappear to like 100 people sitting in an audience situation. He made it disappear. Yeah. It's the art of illusion. Hand distraction. With a little kid, you can just go like this and make the car keys disappear and put a candy in his hand and it's all forgotten. Right? But you can do the same thing and make an airplane disappear. But he's a master magician. There's no magic. There's no magic. The airplane's right there. He just confused your vision with props, with different things, and he made that disappear right in front of you. Those kind of tricks cost maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to arrange the trick. Understand? So sight is not a very good, I saw it. There's a murder scene, there's a car accident, 10 people report it, it's all different. They all saw something different. It's very hard to get a concise 3 witnesses saying the same thing. Different thing. Look at the World Trade Center scenario in the world. There are so many pictures and films and people saw and people heard, and there's so many different opinions. What happened on that day? How that happened. So the sense of hearing is the most reliable sense we have, actually. And it's the one that functions even in our deepest sleep. Like if you put smoke under someone's nose when they're sleeping, they'll go like this. They'll roll around because they see it. You wave in front of their eyes. Even they're sleeping. Sometimes you see people sleeping. They're looking straight up. You go. They're not there. They're not there. They can't see you, right? But if you shout their name, they wake up. Mostly wake up. So the sense of hearing is just always there. It's just always ready to, take in some message, take in some knowledge. So it's our most reliable sense, and it's always active, 24 hours a day. There is not a thing in the ear that goes shut. Your eyes go shut, and that's it. Closed. Show over. The ears don't go shut. They just stay there all the time. So it's the ear which is given the most important sense of hearing. So this Upanayana means to awaken a higher sense of reality, to see actually what is going on. In this sense, in this mundane sense, what this is. What this is. This place is not called Mrityu Loka for nothing. Mrityu Loka. Somebody says, where do you live? I live in the planet of death. Huh? Where's that? Right here. Mrityu Loka means the planet of death, right? Well, we're all absorbed in life, yet everything around us is dying. Everything that has come before us. Sometimes I see these old films of India, and they'll show Gandhi running here and there, and all these people in the film. They're all dead. All of them. If you show a picture and it's 5 guys from the village, and then you go, this guy died. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh, who's that? That's my uncle. Oh, where is he? Oh, he died. Oh, sorry. If somebody died, sorry. Okay? Now you get a picture of Gandhi and Nehru and all these guys at the independence of India, and it shows thousands and crores of people are there, right? They're all dead. Sorry? Yeah, I ought to be sorry. Get the heck out of this place. What is this place? This is Mrityu Loka. Everybody dies here. Little children, nice little babies, they die. Oh, nice grandmas, they die. Nice sportsmen, they die. Everybody dies. Everything dies. The flower dies. The fish dies. Everything dies. Mrityu Loka. But we're thinking, that's okay. That's ignorance. That's okay. It's not okay. If you analyze yourself, you don't want to die. Nothing wants to die. Death is an artificial, it's like the police coming in and raiding your house. It's not desirable. It's like the army coming to your village and killing everyone. It's not desirable. But people were so dumbed down by the tamaguns, and particularly the tamagun, the mode of ignorance, and the other gunas, they never awaken to the reality of where they're actually situated and what is good for them for their future. They never come to this point. But Upanayana means to awaken that vision. However, simply to get the thread on the shoulder, to get the mantra in the ear, and just to then proceed with life with no special attention, then there's no meaning of such an Upanayana. It's just a social tradition, you see. Did you want to ask a question? No. You went like this?
No.
Oh, okay. So there's an article was sent out to everybody who gets the Krishna talk today, and it was a lecture that Sridhar Maharaj gave in 1981 in Bengali. It's recently been translated by Giri Maharaj and Sanatan Prabhu. And he's explaining many of the things that I'm talking about, the Upanayana and Bhakti Siddhanta, and he came. The meaning of the thread is that he will reveal, what is the real meaning of Upanayana. Well, he quotes a verse in this lecture, and it was very interesting. He says that according to Manu Samhita, and he gives the verse, the Brahmins have 3 births. 3 births. The first birth is by the mother. The second birth is Upanayana, Dvija. So I had always thought, until this morning, that the Brahmins are Dvija, the Upanayana is the twice born, mantra Diksha, which usually we get at the same time. Not always, but usually at the same time. This is also, this is part of Dvija, second birth, right? Krishna Maharaj, you're familiar with that. Jagadishwar, they're lead to Dvija. The Brahmins are the twice born who's got Gayatri initiation, they're Dvija. But actually, they're Trija. Manu Samhita says the Brahmin has 3 births. The first birth is by the mother. The second birth is the Upanayana. Now, Upanayana, this is in the Vedic sense. In the Upanayana, the Brahma Gayatri mantra is given by the father to the son. Not by a guru, not by a purohit, not by some yogi, not by some bogi. It's given by the father. But our experience is, nowadays, that in the ashram life, well, generally we only see two births. One by the mother and the second one initiation. In initiation you get the Gayatri, Brahma Gayatri mantra, and you get other Diksha mantras. But actually these are 2 different things. Upanayana is a separate thing. And the Diksha mantras are a separate thing. They constitute the third birth. That's Gopal mantra, Kama Gayatri, what we call the essential Ragamar Gayatri mantras. These are the Diksha mantras. And they constitute the third birth. So first by the mother, then by the father, by giving the Upanayana, the thread ceremony to the son, depending on his caste, what age. But then Diksha is only given by the guru. By means the sadhu, situated in the guru tattva. He gives the Diksha mantra. So actually the Brahmins, Manu Samhita has 3 births. One by the mother, one by receiving Gayatri mantra, and the third by receiving the Diksha mantras. So human life is meant for this Upanayana, actually. It is meant to raise our vision above the mundane mortality of this world, and to see that this world is only possible. This world, the stuff of this world, the temporary stuff of this world, is only possible if a permanent reality exists somewhere. This temporary reality has to come from somewhere. It doesn't have the potency to generate itself out of nothing, from nothing, and sustain itself. It has to come from somewhere. This is the conclusion of higher thinkers. Most of us can barely repeat the thought patterns of higher thinkers, what to speak of actually be higher thinkers. And that the very existence of this world demands from intelligence that there must be a permanent world beyond this world, from which this world ultimately comes. You see? So that's the meaning of Upanayana, to see beyond this temporary world and to begin to see into reality, to transcend this world. But this is only possible through knowledge. Well, the mantra itself has its potency, you see. But to explore that potency, the student requires the cultivation of knowledge. It's very, very rare that the student just gets a mantra. It happens, but it's very, very rare, and they just go on with the mantra and receive no lessons from the guru or anything like that, and they become spiritually awake. Now, a story that's close to that is Gopakumar in the Brihat Bhagavatamamrita. He's given a mantra by his guru, who he doesn't even know who he is. Sounds like a modern day initiation, doesn't it? The guru just comes in, initiates him, and leaves. The guy doesn't know anything, right? But the power of that guru was so powerful that when he gave him the mantra, the power of the mantra knocked him unconscious. It just completely just devastated him materially. And he woke up, and his guru was gone, but this mantra was just buzzing in his head. This Gopal mantra was buzzing in his head. So he went on through what appears to be almost many lifetimes chanting this mantra, Gopal mantra. But at different times his guru would actually appear. He would appear in another form, in another shape, in another being. And he would give him some essential, like, some perks, some direction, what to do next, some guidance. So even there in this extreme story of Gopakumar, guidance is there even after receiving mantra. But he didn't receive, he did not receive Upanayana. He received Diksha mantras. He received Gopal mantra, which is different. And so for many people, Upanayana isn't important. In other words, we have Upanayana in the ashram. We're in the Vaishnava culture. We have Diksha mantras, Upanayana. But actually the Upanayana is not important. That was previously reserved just for the Brahmins, the higher castes, who were expected to perform yajna, expected to maintain the knowledge of Shastra, and all these things. Upanayana was generally only given to them. Others would then enter the Sampradaya who were not in the Brahmins, and they wouldn't be given Upanayana. They would just be given Diksha mantras. Well, in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta, he could see, and everybody could see, there was a big separation, and it was created by a caste consciousness that Brahminism is above self-realization. Brahminism is above Vaishnavism, in other words. Understand? So what he did, when he would admit non-Brahmins into the Sampradaya, he would also give them Upanayana in order to make the point that when one is a Vaishnava, Brahmanism is automatic. Brahmanism is automatic for a Vaishnava. What does that mean? You have the qualities of a Brahmin: truthfulness, cleanliness, austerity. Those are three nice ones. You look at the qualities of a Vaishnava: truthful, cleanly, austere. And whatever qualities the Brahmins have or are desirable for cultivation, the Vaishnavas have. And some. Actually superior to Brahmanism is Vaishnavism. But in the social development over history, in time, the history of India is that Brahmanism, it was looked at, nothing is higher than Brahmanism. Nothing is higher than Brahmanism. But the strangest thing is, in the, say, Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Alawars are the greatest saints they have. But they're not all Brahmins. Several of them, I believe, Giri?
Most of all of them. Actually.
Almost all of them are not Brahmins. Yeah. The Alawars. These are the guys that make the whole thing stick together. Ramanuja Sampradaya. And Ramanuja himself, addresses Nam Alwar as like the principal Alwar, which he draws his inspiration, philosophy, everything. Draws from him. Nam Alwar wasn't a guru. So how did the Ramanujas get into this thing that you have to be, Nam Alwar wasn't a Brahmin. So how did they get into this thing that you have to be a Brahmin? Well, that's time and society. So, and there are other cases in the Madhva line. There are examples, I don't know of particular which ones, but there are examples throughout. Narada Muni is not born. Narada Muni is got to be, in South India they know Durvasa and they know a few other names, right? But, and you go to North India, Durvasa is like, who? Oh, yeah, Mahabharata, right, Durvasa. They remember some little guy the size of a thumb, Is that
That's
Durvas?
Agastya.
Agastya. Well, you remember a few. Everybody knows Narada Muni. Everybody. You know him in the Puranas. You know him in the Vedas. Everybody knows Narada Muni. He's the greatest saint in the universe. He was born of what's called, they call a Sudrani. Means a maidservant. He's not born of a high caste Bhattacharya or Nambudri or something caste. He was born the son of a Sudra. And not only that, he didn't even have a dad. Right? I don't know, his dad died or ran away or something. In other words, he was like a bastard. What they call it in English is called a bastard. You know, almost like an illegitimate son. Doesn't have a proper father, proper caste, marriage wasn't there. That's Narada Muni. But he's the greatest sage in the universe. So birth plays very little to do with self-realization. But birth has always played a big role in social structure, particularly in the ancient world. Now they try to say, hey, it doesn't matter. You know, you're born in a Brahmin family, you're born in a not Brahmin family. It doesn't matter. Why do we do these things? You know, marry your daughter to a Sudra, marry your king to, you know, and just mix it all up. You know, marry an African, marry a thing like that, right? Until you get to where the money is. And then it's marry a Birla, marry a Modi, marry a Mithal. You know, marry a Kingfisher or whatever. You know. It's all about birth again. And we're not just going to marry anybody. We're going to line up with the money marriages, and then there and in places of the world, it's politics. Men and women, boys and girls are married due to political alliances, not love. Anybody with sufficient knowledge knows that this love is like the temporary smell of a flower. It's there, and then it's gone. And then the flower withers. You know, they play much of it in Bollywood, people dancing around trees in love with each other and everything. Do you see that? Do you see that anywhere? Do you go over to Gosai Ghat and see some boys and girls dancing around a tree, running through the field, you know, with her chudder flapping in the wind and running around holding hands? Do you see that anywhere? That's not reality. That's not how life is. That doesn't happen. But in the movies, it seems like it's a good thing. It seems like it's good. It's all these things. Not that there isn't love between humans, but duty is primary. When duty is fulfilled, duty is like sadhana bhakti. If you want to make a comparison to, say, marriage. Marriage is dutiful. That's like sadhana bhakti is dutiful. I don't want to get up this morning. I'm tired. I don't want to get up, take a cold bath. I don't want to chant. I want to stay here with my pillow and my blanket. I just want to sleep, right? But Sadhana Bhakti says, no, you got to get up. It's Brahma Muhurta. It's early. The deities are up. You should be up. There's some pushing. And the sadhana means there's some pushing. No, I have to do it. I have to do it. You know, you're trying to finish some japa. And somebody says, are you going to sleep now? No, I have to finish one japa, and then I'm going to sleep. That's some sadhana. So that's like duty. In terms of marriage. There's duty, responsibility and duty. Well, what happens with sadhana when it's performed properly? Sadhana develops to bhava. Bhava means affection, affection to love, to real prema, spiritual love develops. It's not just some practice, you see, like karate. Karate is about practice. You practice, then you break the guy's arm or something. So sadhana isn't just practice. There's something happening inside that practice. There's a development. And when that develops and takes its own dominance, then the practice is an insignificant thing compared to the feelings which are being expressed through the bhakti, through the devotional service, through the chanting. You follow? So duty in marriage is also like that. When duty is performed, then respect develops, and from respect, a certain quality of love develops. But when it starts with love, and there is no duty, and there is no respect, well, it's called 3 and 5 end up in divorce. Can you imagine in your village, every 5 houses, 3 of them got divorced? Not once, not twice, 3 or 4 or even 5 times? Is there some guy in your village that's divorced 5 times and gotten married? What is that? That'd be scandalous, isn't it? Right? Well, flip the pages of history ahead in India, and that's what's coming. Because that's what's there in the world already. And they're just importing Western style, Western society, Western banking, Western medicine, Western religion. All these things coming in, that's part of the deal. Daughters 12, 13 getting abortion. That's part of the program. Welcome to America. Children make their own decisions when they're 16 years old. Children can go and get abortions. They don't even have to tell their parents. They can be 15 years old, be pregnant, go get an abortion, and not even tell their parents. Then they can have the operation. Welcome to America. Is this what you want? Is this what you want India to be like? My sister's been married 6 times. I thought Draupadi was Panchali, 5 husbands. My sister had 6 husbands. 6 times she's married. The 6th time was a good one. She married the 3rd husband for the 2nd time. She was married, divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced. The 6th time she went back and married the number 3 guy. And it seemed to work out for her, for now. Who knows, she's only 54. Plenty of time for 4 or 5 more. Welcome to America, In India, it's still the place where at least kids put on a show of touching their parents' feet, isn't it? They still do that. They show some respect in the home and stuff, although the respect is dropping down. But we're not to the place where it's common for a guy, 16 or 17, to use foul, abusive, nastiest words in your language to his mother and even slap his mother's face. Is this happening in your village? What happens in your village if somebody does that? Slaps their mother's face, some 15-year-old kid. Well, I'll tell you what happened. There'd be 10 guys and uncles and brothers over there and stomp that little punk's butt, is what they would do. They would beat him up. You can't get away in the village if some punk kid slapping his mother. Can you? I'm asking a question.
Yeah, they'll beat him.
Huh?
They'll beat him.
They'll beat him, right?
They'll teach him a lesson.
They'll teach him a lesson. Sometimes he doesn't get another chance. Honor killings and all that stuff, Maybe a little extreme. That's common in America, to children to abuse their mother, abuse their father, physically, verbally especially. Oh God, it's nothing. So is this what you want in India? Is this what you want? Well, it might not be what you want, but it's what's coming. Because it comes along with all the television, the rock and roll music, the I love this girl, I love this boy, all this crap comes in and cooks in the pot of society, and that's what you get. Increased divorce rate, domestic violence, disrespect within the family. It just goes on and on and on. No culture. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, what do you think of Western culture? Gandhiji said, culture, that'd be a good idea. Western culture, that'd be a good idea. When are they going to start? But, I see a little bit of this every once in a while. Some people really speaking up now. Indians really speaking up strong for India. There's a lot of them. 20, 30 years ago, it was like Prabhupada's voice was a cry in the dark, in the forest, alone. He's speaking up for the greatness of Indian culture, and everybody else is like, just want to go to West, go to West, go to West. All these very, very external things. Now there seems to be there's a more revolution, not a revolution, but a revival of the core pride of what it means to be Indian or Hindu, what it means to be a Vedic follower. There's a little bit more pride and dignity in that. But equal to that and beyond it is the degradation in India. So, for a devotee, a proper devotee, they actually know too much to do nonsense. A person who doesn't know anything can do nonsense easy because they're not aware of the reaction or anything that can happen to them. But a devotee knows what is right and what is wrong. And a devotee knows to a larger extent, the consequences of right and wrong. And therefore, the tendency is to do right, or even having done wrong, to try and rectify that. Because there's some knowledge guiding a devotee. Every level of devotee, there's some knowledge guiding it. But if one is not hearing from Guru, if one is not studying Shastra, one is not hearing from superior guardians, Vaishnavas, sadhus and everything, then what do they know? What do they know? You know? Like, it's perfectly fine. You're veg, no problem. You come to McDonald's, you have a nice salad and a veggie burger, and I'll have a cheeseburger double deluxe beef. Well, what they don't know is, because you eat in the restaurant that serves the meat, you also get some of the karma of the meat. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm a vegetarian cook. I only cook the patties. Oh, you didn't know, according to Mana Samhita, that whoever cooks the meat gets part of the karma. Who kills the animal, who sold the animal, who serves the animal, and brings it to your table. Oh, do you like some chicken? No, sir, I'm vegetarian, but here's your chicken. That person also gets part of the karma. There are 7 people charged with the crime of murdering any animal, particularly a cow. Cow, the cousin buffalo. Do you know what's going on in the world now? You watch the news? Did you get the part about people eating all the horses? The horse meat got into the beef meat. And a big scandal in Europe, horse meat. And it got traced back, I'll just tell you this, it's very interesting, in the country of Romania, which is for Europe a poor country. It's not backward in the sense that they're not educated or something, but their material standard of living is quite backward compared to, you know, Germany or something, France or Spain even. So up until last week or last month, it was very common, like we see the bullock cart in India. Well, there they use the horse and the donkey. So they bring things on the road with horse and donkey. They have a horse cart, like what we call a tonga. And they're transporting goods, using for people, family transportation, everything, kind of like the bullock in India. Well, Romania is progressing, making bigger highways, better highways, so they passed a law, no horses and no donkeys can be taken onto the road. So now, those horses and donkeys don't have any use. So they sold them all to the abattoir. The abattoir means the slaughterhouse. Because they can't use the animal on the road to pull the cart anymore. It just costs money to feed the animal. So everybody sold their horses and their donkeys to the slaughterhouse. Well, besides the French and a few other people, not that many people in Europe eat horse meat. They don't go in and go, where's the horse meat? Ah, the horse meat. Thank you. The French and a few other people eat horse meat. Willingly, knowingly. Most other people don't. Well, they figured, God, there's all this horse meat. The French aren't going to buy it all. They'll buy some of it. What can we do? So they decided to mix it with the beef. So then it came out a big scandal. You know, all the people eating beef, they're now like, oh, there was horses in that. You know, and then they go, not only horses, there was donkeys in that. You know? So they're eating horses and donkeys. You know? So, yeah, this is the culture, you know. And in some places it's dog. You know? But eating dog, eating horse, eating pig, eating rats, eating rabbits, ducks, all these things, even dogs, are better than eating cows. Eating cow is the most abominable. People think, oh God, they eat dogs in the Philippines. They eat dogs in Korea. They eat dogs in China. You know, and people go, oh God, that's horrible. They eat dogs. When the Americans are reading this thing about the French and everybody eating the horse meat, they're like, oh God, ugh, vomit. They're eating horses. They're eating horses. But they think, oh, eating cows is good. But eating horses is disgusting. What kind of a mind is that sees and thinks like that? When actually, eating cows is the most immoral and most disgusting thing that a human being can eat. Why? Because Cow is one of the mothers of the human being and the human society. It's one of the 7 mothers. Translation, eat your mother. It's like, well, that's a form of cannibalism. Ah, yes, eating cows is a subtle form of cannibalism. But people are thinking eating cows is fine and eating dogs is low. No, better you eat dogs, not cows. If you want to eat a dog, eat a goat, eat a buffalo, eat a horse, eat a turtle, eat a duck. Better, why do you want to eat any of those things? Just the sound of it, I'm going to eat a duck. It's just like, you're going to eat a duck? Why don't you eat a tiki? You know, it's just like, oh, that's disgusting. Well, why would you want to eat a duck? Eat a bird. Those things, if you actually think of it, this is disgusting. You're going to pull the leg off some animal, cook it and eat it, and suck on the bones. They suck on the bones. Look, the Kentucky Fried people, they suck on the bones. Unless they got the bucket of chicken nuggets. Do you know what chicken nuggets is? It's all the stuff they sweep off the floor in the slaughterhouse. All the goop and pieces that don't fit anywhere. They bundle it up, they grind it up, they put a certain color in it to make it pink. They put a certain flavor in it. It's got bones in it, feathers in it, hairs in it, dirt in it. It's got every abomination. It's got stool in it, intestines in it, eyeballs in it. That is chicken nuggets. And then they're advertising, it looks like big pieces of paneer. A little basket, red and white, you know, all this advertising. Huh?
Breadcrumbs on it.
Breadcrumbs, yeah. It's like paneer tikka. No, it's like paneer pakora. They glorify it like chicken nuggets. But if you, again, knowledge, you understand what chicken nuggets is. You'll never, ever put one of those things in your mouth. I mean, it is abominable. Add chemicals, add color, add advertising. And the people in the mode of ignorance, and they're eating and enjoying. This is enjoyment. This is the ignorance. So Bhaktisiddhanta came at a time, from our time, it almost looks like a very high time. There was a lot of Brahminism around, there were a lot of pundits, people, you know, opted for a study of the Vedas as a life occupation. Now it's IT. All Brahmin boys go for IT, dental surgery, doctoring, whatever they can. It's all about money, right? Nobody says, yes, Father, I've decided I'm going to study Upanishads. What? Upanishads, you know, Upanishads. That will not do anything for you. You study IT, you study dental surgery, you study engineering, and then you'll get what? Money. You get money. What do you do with money? Anything. Money will make you happy. This is what society's come to. So it was like that in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta, but not as bad as it is now. We sometimes marvel, my gosh. He would sometimes say how degraded society was like 80 and 100 years ago. When he came to South India, he thought it had become very degraded. That is at a time when everybody still wore a dhoti. When the Maharaj of Mysore still wore a turban, a pagadi. When kings touched the feet of sadhus. It was still in that time period. And he said, oh, they have become so degraded. Now, I don't know what he would think, you know, with all the stuff that's just going on. Yeah, I'll show you a classic one. Yeah, let me see who's got. Anybody got one ear pierced here? You? One. Okay. You see a lot of guys now, you know, in the workstation and everything, they got one ear pierced. You see the movie star, but that is like having one tire with a hole in it in your car. See, you got 2 ears for a reason, right? And right, yeah. But you should have 2 when you. This was actually a sanskar, mandatory for girls, optional for boys. Because this is called a morma. In Kerala, it's called a morma. And when this is pierced, it releases lust, the tension of lust in the body. So all girls are supposed to have, without a doubt, the piercing. And boys, it's optional. Can or cannot. But it's always both ears, not one. It's like you're... Of course, it's so subtle. People are whacked out with smoking, drinking, running around, carbon monoxide, news, all kind of stuff. So they don't sense that subtlety, that subtle imbalance that it creates in them. But it does. It does. So piercing the ears, particularly, has been a thing in Vedic civilization. It's there in certain like shastras for sanskars and all this stuff. But now it's going on in a completely different way.
Now they do it to increase lust.
They do it to increase lust. It's called cool. It's like the tattoos. Cool. Like people get tattoos of the most stupid things. They get tattoos of nothings. You know, Aboriginal designs, all kind of stuff. Some people do spiritual things, and that's what it used to be. But now people just do any kind of nonsense, you know. All right, so when Bhaktisiddhanta began his mission, it was not widely appreciated. It was opposed by almost every sophisticated sector of society as a whole. All the different social groups, Brahminical groups, highly objected. The Brahminical groups objected because he gave the Upanayana to non-Brahmins. Again, I say he did this to emphasize that if one becomes a Vaishnava, Brahmanism is automatically within that. So to make underline my point, he gives the Upanayana to the non-Brahmins. Then the Babajis and others, other spiritual sections of Bengal, they complained that that after getting Diksha, these Brahmins continue chanting Upanayana, and he's giving Diksha, but he's giving Upanayana also. This shouldn't be done. None of the Babaji sections in Bengal, the sadhu sections, none of them chant their Upanayana Gayatri, Brahma Gayatri. None of them chant that. They only chant the Diksha mantras, not the Upanayana mantra. So we say damned if you do, damned if you don't. He was getting it from every side. Every side was objection, having objection. Well, in this article that you read, Sridhar Maharaj points out, and he quotes. And what he's referring to, he's quoting how some people over time changed their opinions about Bhaktisiddhanta. And there's a quote in there. You'll remember it when you translated it. He's quoting, and he's saying something like, now we can see over time that Sarasvatī Bhaktisiddhanta, he actually raised up the standard, and there's some appreciation. What he's talking about is, many years after Bhaktisiddhanta, like at least 20, maybe 30 or 40 years after the time of Bhaktisiddhanta, in Navadvip, there was a function. And at Paramatal, that's the main places in Navadvip where spiritual functions were held. And Sridhar Maharaj attended a function, and there were many Smarta Brahmins there. So generally the Smarta Brahmins and who else?
Tantrics.
The Tantrics,
Shaktas.
the Smartas, the Shaktas, they had no appreciation of Bhaktisiddhanta at all. They used to oppose him, right into creating physical mischief, even attempts of violence, and not attempts, violence against him. Many things they tried to obstruct him, thinking that what he's doing is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. It's making a mess of everything. In other words, they looked at him kind of like a sahaja, like an imitator. He's not doing it right. He's making a mess of everything. You see, so they opposed him. But after decades went by at one of these programs, and Sridhar Maharaj is referring to that, one of the top Smarta Brahmins of Navadvip gave his introductory speech to this thing, and in it he mentioned that for decades we thought that Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvatī had performed a great mischief in what he was doing. But now, with the passing of time, he said, we can see that he's given a great upliftment to the whole process, means to the whole cultural context of the Brahmin the spiritual life, the Upanayana, Dvija, Diksha, all these things. He's actually lifted it up. So he was such a revolutionary that in his time, his immediate time, he was only appreciated by a select few, not by a many. Well, many of the ordinary people appreciated because prasadam and simple things. But the elite classes, most of them had objections to Bhaktisiddhanta and offered resistance. But if you look in the world, you can see many instances where people who are, we call them ahead of their time, they come with the next installment. Something has become stagnated, things have become very rigid. It could be in science, it could be in biology, it could be in medicine, it could be in social structure, it could be in spirituality. Things just happen where people come and it's just become very stagnated. It's become stuck up. It's just not happening. It's just dying, dead on the vine, we say. And they come and they revive. We call them in English revivalists. They come and they revive an old tradition, but they often put it in a new dress, or they have something which is so far forgotten, it looks like it never was there in the first place. In other words, it looks like they're inventing something, but they're not inventing something. They're going back to a previous time of purity and originality, and they're reinstating what originally made all this culture great. Or in any field. It could be in any field of science or knowledge, religion or morality even. They're reformers, they're revivalists. So, amongst his own followers, of course, he was deeply appreciated. Amongst the general populace, he was appreciated. But amongst the elites, he found much objection and competition. Huh?
Opposition.
Opposition, not competition. Opposition. Now, much of that is forgotten. I don't say everywhere, but much of that is forgotten. At this time, last year, 2012, marked the last day of the last disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta on this planet. There are no direct disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta on this planet. None. Not even a single one. All gone. The last one was, if I remember this right, Dauragovinda Shastri. Is it Dauragovinda? The Dauragovinda Shastri, who was, he joined Bhaktisiddhanta when he was 6 years old. He actually ran away from home to join the ashram. And then his family immediately came to ashram. Where's our boy? So some other brahmacharis, they stuck him inside a big gunny bag of rice. They stuck him in a gunny bag and they poured rice all over him, right up to his head, and left him something to breathe the air. And then the family came looking, where's our son? You know, they looked everywhere in the kitchen, they looked everywhere, and the gunny bag was right there. They just looked, everything. We don't know where's your son. That's a horrible thing. You could go to jail for doing that today. Well, that was 100 years ago almost. That was very, very different. So Dauragovinda Shastri became Bhaktisiddhanta's disciple, and gradually the family adjusted, and he became a great Sanskrit professor at Cuttack University, wrote many books, things, and I had the opportunity to meet him on one or two occasions and also drive him in my vehicle to his house in Cuttack when I was on my way to Mayapur. So, but he was the last, very last of last disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta. And he passed away, was it April? In April of 2012. So the world concerns itself with the living. You know, they have a thing, the king is dead, long live the king. It's the next breath up, you know. The announcement comes, the king is dead, or the pope is dead. The next breath is long live the new pope, long live the new king, you know. Although everybody in this world dies, it belongs to the living. They say life goes on. But people don't understand the depth of that statement, life goes on, because they assume that the dead are dead. But Bhaktivinoda wrote a poem. He reasons ill, means you make mistake if you think that Vaishnavas die. Because Vaishnavas don't die. That's mortals die. Conditioned souls die. Vaishnavas don't die. And then he said, Vaishnavas are living in sound. That they are present by their sound vibration. In other words, by their teaching. So, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is not present due to a picture, although a picture is a very nice regal representation of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And certainly any disciple or grand disciple, etc., of his would respect and honor the picture. But Bhaktisiddhanta lives not in the sense of a picture, but he lives in the sense of his teaching and the mission that he started. And that was carried forward by his disciples, none of which are present in the world anymore. And so, is he living in picture? Or is he living in the continuation of the mission that he started, the preaching mission? It's always good to remember, Prabhupada didn't start this mission. They always say, Prabhupada's movement. But this was not Prabhupada's movement. He didn't start this movement. He didn't start any part of it except one. He started one part of this movement, book publishing. No. Bhaktisiddhanta did that. Magazines, Back to Godhead. No. Bhaktisiddhanta did that. Newspapers. Prabhupada didn't even get a chance to start a newspaper. No, Bhaktisiddhanta did that too. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Having ladies live in the ashram. No, Bhaktisiddhanta started that also. He had the Vishnupriya ashram. Was it Vishnupriya? Vishnupriya ashram.
Vishnupriya Palli.
Vishnupriya Palli.
Palli, yeah. And everything you can think, everything you put your finger on. Dioramas. Prabhupada made dioramas in L.A. No, Bhaktisiddhanta made dioramas in Calcutta 30 years, 40 years before. Everything you do that Prabhupada did, lecture, translate, everything he did, he's just doing what his guru had already done. And one day Prabhupada said, I did one thing original. But is this how people are being trained to think of Prabhupada today? No. They're being trained to think of Prabhupada today. He invented the whole thing. Even he invented Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan. Because this is Prabhupada's movement, they call it. But this is a misleading enthusiasm. What was the point?
You're saying that Prabhupada said he did one thing?
So Prabhupada was saying, I did one original thing. I am the only sannyasi in history to sit down and get his disciples married. Sannyasis don't do the marriage ceremony. He said, but I did that. So everyone was shocked. It's like, no, you would think, no, I'm original, I did this. I went to Western country. He wasn't the first one to go to Western country. Bon Maharaj was the first one to go to Western country. And it was quite, like a very humble statement. So Prabhupada is great because he carried the mission and the message of Bhaktisiddhanta. And when he found himself in a situation where there was nobody to get the devotees married and everything, he himself sat down as a sannyasi, as the guru, and he did the homa and he made the function. That, he said, that was his own originality. But that's not how people think about this Krishna consciousness movement today. Not everybody, but many people just think that Prabhupada started everything. He didn't start any of it. He just carried it forward. He carried out the order of his guru, and he fulfilled wishes and desires of his guru, which were all already set in place. Now, that in itself is amazing. And Sridhar Maharaj, those of you who read this article that got sent to you today in Krishna Talk, you will see there Sridhar Maharaj gives a wonderful appreciation that we are all so charmed and we are all so pleased with the great work that your Prabhupada, and at one point he mentions your Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, what he has done in the world is absolutely wonderful. And we're all in great debt to him for this service to our Guru Maharaj. Well, that's the proper understanding. Prabhupada didn't come to America because he liked American music or American food. or England or anything because he liked British mannerisms. Actually, he hated all these things. He didn't like the Western mannerisms, all these different things. He didn't like them. Well, no, why he came there? Why he came there? He came there to fulfill the order of his spiritual master because his spiritual master asked him to go there and spread Krishna consciousness. But he didn't just ask Prabhupada, one man, you go there. Prabhupada said, I told Prabhupada, you go there, and if you ever get money, print books and all these things. And then when he was gone, he told that guy the same thing, and that guy the same thing, and this guy the same thing, and he told hundreds of people the same thing. The amazing thing is only one person really did it. A few people tried and couldn't figure out how this is impossible. For what reason? It just didn't happen. Well, when he went, and Sridhar Maharaj said, the difference is he was so dependent upon Krishna. He had nothing. His family was done and finished. There was no older sons to back him up in anything he'd done. There was no godbrother and mission behind him to help him, to sponsor him, to send him financial aid. Nothing. There was nobody to go with him. He was 70 years old and got on a boat to cross the ocean. The ocean? Have you ever been seasick? Oh, you wish you're never born when you're seasick. And Prabhupada is floating the ocean, seasick, riding the ocean boats. He has a heart attack. There's not even a doctor in his cabin. He's just in his cabin alone, suffering heart attacks, all these things. Sridhar Maharaj said he made himself very empty. And only one source of hope for him, only one source of shelter for him, only one source of possible success for him. That is the mercy of Krishna through the mercy of his Guru. And because he made himself so dependent on Krishna, Krishna filled in the spaces wonderfully and made the mission very, very successful beyond anyone else's even wildest imagination. Still you can hear. People will say, yes, we have read 1,000 times, Prithiviti Yachayati Nagaradi Gram. The holy name will be broadcast in every town and village of the world. And the sadhus of Bengal are like, every town and village of the world? Do you know what that means? The whole world? Maybe it just means India. Yeah, India is the proper world. It means India. You know, and even that's tough. Broadcasting Harinam in Punjab, you know, and western, you know, Gujarat or central Madhya Pradesh. It's not even easy to do that in India. There are places where Harinam goes and people chase him out with sticks. They're Lingite, they're Shaivite, they're this one, they're that one. Not even in India is it so easily possible. So they couldn't even imagine that Prithivitiyachayat Nagaradi Gram means in every town and village actually of the world. Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Alaska, every village and town in the world will do Harinam and everything related to that. No, must mean India only. They couldn't even believe it themselves. And I've heard several people admit to that. They could not imagine what this means. How is this possible? It's not possible. But your Swami Maharaj, your Prabhupada, he did it. And he did it by the mercy of his Guru, mercy of Krishna, particularly when at times to get to work and get it all done, the mercy of Lord Nityananda was required. Baladev Tattva. This type of activity is very rare, expansive activity. This is the energy, potency, and the blessing of Baladev, who's Lord Nityananda. So in the end of this article, Sridhar Maharaj gives a very nice, very warm, heartfelt appreciation for the great work that our Prabhupada did in carrying this message forward. And we can certainly add to that after the time of Srila Prabhupada, that Sridhar Maharaj, he polished this achievement. I say polished it because, you get something, a brass box or a silver ring or something like that, and it looks nice and it's just amazing. And its value is intrinsic for what it is. But yet, when it's polished, someone else takes it and just puts a little finishing touch on it. It makes it all the more appreciable, its beauty. You can see more detail of the artwork in creating that piece of jewelry. So Sridhar Maharaj was like that. He gave a little polish to the achievement. Polish means by his appreciation of what Prabhupada had done, our Prabhupada had done, on top of what Bhaktisiddhanta had done. He gave a very nice appreciation to that, allowing us, even his disciples, to appreciate the finer aspects of Srila Prabhupada and his achievement in spreading the Sankirtan movement all over the world. So that's a few things I wanted to say in relation to Bhaktisiddhanta today. 1874, Giri, how many years is that from now? 139 years ago. 139 years ago. Almost everybody in our guardianship has had 100 years. Centennial. Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada, Puri Maharaj. The amazing thing about Srila Puri Maharaj is he was still present when we were celebrating Centennial 1, 2, and part of 3, Centennial 3. I couldn't figure it out in those days. Every year it seemed like we were celebrating the Centennial Vyasa Puja for about 3 years in a row, because they celebrate the beginning of the centennial and they celebrate the end of the centennial, which is then the beginning of this 101. And we were all confused for quite a while how old is Srila Puri Maharaj? So how old? How many years? 102, right? 102. That means he was born in 1897. 1897. What year was Prabhupada born?
96.
What year was Sridhar Maharaj born?
95.
When was Mahatma Gandhi born? It's not important anyway. It's not really important. You'll go, what? It's very important. Gandhi Jayanti. All I know about Gandhi Jayanti is the Kadi Bhavan has great 40-50% discounts for 1 month.
Yeah.
That I can tell you. I told one very pious rich man, I said, amongst the politicians, Gandhi was a saint. He said, yes, Swamiji, Gandhi was a saint. I said, yes, but amongst the saints, Gandhi was a politician. And he didn't like that. And it's true. What other saints do you see in all those pictures of Gandhiji? Nobody. There's Jinnah, there's Nehru, there's Sardar Patel, there's a few people, and there's these 2 girls hanging on each side of him. He can't walk himself. He's got to lean on the girls. You know? There are no sadhus coming to see him. There are no sadhus. He wasn't out at the sadhu camps at Kumbh Mela. He wasn't up there at Hardwar and Rishikesh and Badrinath or Chitrakoot. You know Chitrakoot? What Chitrakoot is? Chitrakoot is a mountain and a river in North India, Uttar Pradesh, and it's totally inhabited by sadhus. There's temples. It's a town, but mainly it's just ashrams and sadhus. He never at any of these places. Amongst the politicians, he was the saint. But amongst the saints, he was a politician. Understand? There's a difference. So Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Puri Maharaj, these are saints, even amongst the saints. Now, to be a saint, people say, so Swamiji, you're a saint. Well, probably compared to, most average people, I am a saint. So are you. Because most people are doing so much nonsense, eating so much nonsense. So you're a saint. But when we come amongst the saints, we do not feel that we are saints. Right? We recognize who our saints are, who our gurus are. And we feel ourselves as only their servants, humble servants. Well, the secret is that's the way to sainthood. Because a saint always feels himself just the humble servant of his guru. Doesn't feel himself a saint. Once when unpacking Srila Prabhupada's bags, I think it was in Vrindavan, unpacking his bags and setting a few things around his room, just like when I come back and somebody, Rupanuga or somebody will help unpack my bag or something like that. And we're unpacking Prabhupada's bag, and then he picks up a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada always carried a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta with him. He picks it up out of the suitcase. And then Prabhupada says, he sees the picture and he says, take Prabhupada's picture and put it over there. Well, there's about 8 people in the room making arrangements. And Prabhupada says, put Prabhupada's picture over there. That's like me saying, put Narasingha Maharaja's picture over there. You'd hear my voice say to put, and you'd hear my name, and it's like, huh, what? And everybody looks, and everybody stops, and there's a picture of Bhakti Siddhanta. And everybody's like, they're all like momentarily confused, and then Prabhupada says, yes, I also have my Prabhupada. But generally that was very foreign for us to hear, those words. All right, so, but he did not think himself as a Prabhupada. He thought himself only as the servant of his spiritual master. And that is the way that every saint has that feeling. If they don't have that feeling, then they're not a saint. They're bogus. Or they're incomplete. They're half-baked bread. Or half-cooked chapati. Because one who's actually a saint never sees oneself like that. Never thinks of oneself like that. Only exclusively thinks and feels oneself servant of his Guru. So this is also supremely manifest in the character and personality of Bhakti Siddhanta. He saw himself as the servant of Bhakti Vinod and the servant of Gorakishore. These were his 2 gurus, both Diksha and Shiksha. And he sought only to perform service which was pleasing to them. Never the role. Like there's argument in the Vaishnava world. Some people want to be guru. There are ladies that want to be guru. There's some other people who want to be guru. Somebody wants to be called Prabhu. They don't want to be called Mata or Mataji. Don't call me Mataji. Call me Prabhu. Translation. Don't call me mother. Call me master. It's like, have you joined the Bhakti program yet? Have you even been to one class at the ashram? I mean, that sounds like some total Mayavadi thing. I want to be guru. I want to be master. Or we should have women gurus too. Have you seen any such word in Shastra? Stri guru? That doesn't mean women cannot be gurus, but there's no such thing as a woman guru. There's no such thing as a black guru. Oh, he's a black guru. Oh, he's an African guru. Oh, he's a South Indian guru. Oh, he's a woman. She's a guru, a woman guru. These things don't exist. You're taking an otherwise pure idea and taking something from the material world and sticking on the side. Gay guru. Well, I'm not really gay. I'm heterosexual. I mean, it's just like, what? What has sex got to do with being guru? But they want to have, we should have some gay gurus. There should be lesbian gurus. There should be men gurus. I say, we'd just be happy if there was guru. That'd be good. If there was actually guru, because all these other things that you're saying, gay guru, women guru, all this zonu guru, all these things that you're stuck on there are just like fleas, biting, infecting with disease. Srila Prabhupada said, bogus guru. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as a bogus guru. They're either guru or they're not. It's like counterfeit gold. Those are opposite sayings. Gold is gold. So how can you have counterfeit gold? It's not gold. Understand? So it's no longer gold. It's simply counterfeit. So there's no such thing as a bogus guru. There's just such a thing as bogus. Understand? No, he doesn't understand. The word itself is fully contained. And anything you add to it, material, pollutes it, contaminates it, and therefore nullifies it. Because guru means no material contamination. It means no material desire. So the person says, well, I want to be guru. Well, that's a disqualification. When you want to be guru, you can't be guru. Because it counteracts what the meaning of the word is, what the substance of the word is. So Prabhupada said, there is no such thing as bogus guru. Another thing he said is, big devotees don't fall down. Now, they had this thing in the early days of ISKCON. If you're a devotee 3 years, you were an old devotee. You know, if you've been around 5 years, you're a big devotee, a big devotee. But then these big devotees started just taking off like just like dust in the wind, just blown away. I mean, no more Krishna consciousness. So somebody said, well, Prabhupada, why so many big devotees are falling down? Prabhupada said, big devotees? I don't think any big devotees have fallen down. I did not hear Rupa Goswami has fallen down. He is a big devotee. So what does it mean, big devotee? You've been a devotee 5 years and managed a temple for 2. This is big devotee. You collected a bag of money. This is big devotee. What means big devotee? Once there was a kind of bang, boom, some noise, some noise going on in the Hyderabad temple for like 5 minutes, and Prabhupada was a little irritated by that. He goes, what is that noise? What is that? What is that noise? And the temple commander reported, oh, it's all right, Prabhupada, it's the devotees. And Prabhupada said, devotees? What devotees? There are no devotees. I'm the only devotee here. Who's making that noise? So somebody says, are you Vaishnava? Oh, yes, I am Vaishnava. It's like, really? You're a Vaishnava? That's quite an achievement, my friend. But the real Vaishnava says, I'm servant of a Vaishnava. He doesn't say, I am Vaishnava. Oh, yeah, dealing with Hinduism and everything. Oh, you're a Vaishnava? You say, yes, I'm Vaishnava. But the problem is, when you start thinking it, it's one thing to say it just because the people can't understand a lot of the time. Like my name, by initiation, Diksha, was Jagat Guru. So in India, Jagat Guru is like, this is more than Paramahansa. Jagat Guru is the title that all the Sringeri Mutt and Dwarka Mutt and everybody, Jagat Guru, Shri, then the big name follows. Jagat Guru is the top. So I was given the name Jagat Guru Das. But when being introduced in a program, a Pandal program or anything like that, even before I was a Swami, it would be Jagat Guru. They'd never mentioned Das. And many times, even before I was a Swami, they would introduce me as Jagat Guru Swami. Because, Swamiji, Swamiji. When you go out of the ashram to preach and contact people, you are Swamiji, right? You've experienced that white dress, brahmachari dress, knickers, it doesn't matter. If you're from the ashram, you're Swami. So, but, what was the point?
Jagadguru.
Oh, so people used to say sometime at the end of my lecture, someone would raise their hand and be a question, and they would say, are you Jagat Guru? That means, are you spiritual master of the universe? Jagat Guru? And I guess they were just curious, like, okay, what's this foreigner, this Hare Krishna foreigner? He's got this big name. In fact, it's one of the biggest there is. Let's see how he responds. So usually it was the same. It wasn't any really big thing. I would say, actually, I'm Jagat Guru Das. Das means servant. My spiritual master, Prabhupada, he is an authentic Jagat Guru. He's preaching all over the world, da-da-da-da-da-da. And people would appreciate it. But you could see the trap. Oh, yes, I am Jagat Guru. Oh, you're Jagat Guru. And I was 30 years old, 29 years old, claiming to be Jagat Guru. Nowadays, you could get away with that. There's so much cheating and all these nonsense gurus in India. It's a joke. If they would go back to being Bollywood gurus, it would be an upgrade. They have taken it beyond Bollywood. Just shameful, degraded, immoral wretches is what most of them are. No form or shape of guru at all. So we don't even say they're bogus gurus. We simply say they are bogus. Cheaters. Cheaters and the cheaters. So to be a Vaishnava is very high. It's not such a common thing. Right? So it's one thing to explain to the people, yes, we are Vaishnavas. Okay, that's just for their simple understanding. But we must maintain the actual identity is where the das and das and das, 3, 4, go 5 times removed. That's good. Safe position, servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. of a Vaishnava, servant of a Vaishnava. So, any question or comment here? Did I say anything worth listening to? Anything worth hearing?
So can we say, Amal Guru, Jagat Guru, good disciple?
Actually, it's been proposed.
It's actually true.
There was a friend of mine, and he left ISKCON early on in the 80s, and he established his own self and his own mission with the help of friends and followers. He became kind of a big personality, and his name wasn't Jagat Guru. His name was Siddhaswarup Ananda. That was his name given by Prabhupada. Well, they added the title Jagat Guru to him, and he had his own television show. And on Sundays, it was called Jagat Guru Speaks. And it would be like a Sunday morning talk show. People sitting around casually in Western chairs and couches, some on the floor, some on the couch, and him at the center. And it would be contemporary, like a talk show, like a Tonight talk show or a morning talk show. Talk about contemporary things, spiritual things, this and that, and everything. But it was called Jagat Guru Speaks. So for a few years it was kind of popular. Well, at that time I also went to that same city, and I was having a preaching program for 1 year. So sometimes the devotees would make advertisements and invitations to come to our center and to listen to Jagat Guru Swami. Jagat Guru will speak on karma, Bhagavad Gita. So one day after a talk like this in our center, and one of the ladies that attended the class, she came up and she goes, "He just looks so different on television." And I said, it's the lights, studio lights. That him and I look nothing alike. I mean, I think most of the time he had like longer hair,
yeah.
even like. And most of always in my life, I have almost shaved up or short hair. It's just, he looks so different on the television. So it's the lights, the studio lights. So, yeah, but that was my name. People used to ask that all the time. Are you Jagat Guru? Are you the spiritual master of the universe? And I used to reply, no. I'm the servant of the spiritual master of the universe, of this world. And usually people thought, this is good. So some people know. Others who don't know, like someone may go to see Srila Mahārāja back in the day, go in the room for darshan, and you're from Russia or China or wherever, Hungary, United States, you're England, you're getting ready to go in the room, and you're kind of like, yeah, we're going to have the darshan, get the blessings of Srila Mahārāja. This is a rare opportunity. So you go in there, and the first thing he says to you is that he begs for your blessings. So it didn't happen to many people, but some people kind of said, he's looking for blessings. He's not giving them. Maybe we ought to go. Maybe we should leave. He's looking for blessings. He's not giving. So what does that mean? It means they entered the room, a very exalted Vaishnava, in his natural born Paramahansa humility. He's asking the newcomer for the blessing to always chant the holy name and to be always in the service of his guru. That's his natural Paramahansa humility. The neophyte doesn't understand what that is and thinks like he's admitting his weakness. And maybe we better go somewhere else to get blessings. Down the street, where the guru says, I am your guru, I am Jagat Guru, I am Rasik, I know everything, I can give you what Prabhupada didn't give you, and all these fanciful, hyperbolic promises and statements, and the fools then think, wow, this is the real deal. But they meet a humble Vaishnava, they may not be able to recognize it. that happened on a couple occasions. Also, Govinda Maharaj also related that same thing in his own experience. How neophyte disciples completely misunderstood the natural humility of the disciple, and seeing it as, oh, it's like a defect, like a defect. Well, there was one guru, he was asked, very humbly, someone asked, "Oh, Maharaj, when did you learn to chant purely?" "I have always chanted purely." Jai Gurudev. So when that story was told to me, it was kind of like what we call a lead balloon. You know, balloons are supposed to float, but if you fill it with lead, it goes boom, falls flat. So when I heard the story that the guru was asked when he started to chant purely, and he said he chanted always purely, from the day he began. He chanted purely. In my ears, it hit like a lead balloon. Boom. It was like dead. I was like, like, there was no resonance. Coincidentally, 2 weeks later, I was in Mayapur with Srila Puri Maharaj, and somebody asked him the same question. And as soon as that question was asked, I was like recalling. So I was like more keen on what is the answer. Srila Puri Maharaj then looked at his bead bag, put his hand in his bag, took out his beads, touched it over his head for about 15, 20 seconds, looked back at his beads, then he looked at the person who asked the question and said, "Baba, I've been chanting for 70, I think he said 74 years or 76 years, but somehow I cannot chant purely." And I was sitting there myself thinking, yeah, this is the answer I'm looking for. Not the, well, I am born pure. I am always chanting pure. Oh, I am Jagat Guru. Oh, I am Paramahansa. Is that how Mahaprabhu's prayers go? Oh, I got the holy name wrapped around my little finger. It's all happening. I'm the man, you know. I got love of Krishna. Didn't know that? Da, 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 da. Because people who have it don't think they have it at all. The closer you are to the holy name, the farther away you are. Well, some other guy goes, yeah, I don't feel very close to the holy name either. He throws his beads away and goes and gets a job in Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then I would say, you're right. You're not close to the holy name. You're very far away. You're in Maya. You're in nonsense. Well, the other person may say the same thing. So how do you know? Well, one of the things is the person who says, I'm far away from the holy name, and actually goes and does nonsense, he is far away from the holy name. Absolutely. And that's why he's doing nonsense. But the person who tells you, I'm far away from the holy name, but that person is always chanting the holy name, never gives up the service of Krishna, never gives up the service of the Vaishnava, never gives up the service of his guru, never gives up the service of Shastra, and is always chanting the holy name, but feels the holy name is very far away, that's a person you want to follow. That's a person you want to appreciate. Because if you just appreciate them, you'll get automatic advancement in Krishna consciousness. Just by appreciating those who are deeply situated and dear to Krishna, either in their internal bhajan or their external activities. Sridhar Maharaj makes this point, that anyone who appreciates what Bhaktivedanta Swami has done to the world, and he's talking 30 years ago when many of Prabhupada's godbrothers are living, he's saying to them, if any of you appreciate what Swami Maharaj has done, by that appreciation, you will get Sukriti. Krishna will be pleased with you. So just by appreciating the achievements or the bhajan of very advanced souls, senior Vaishnavas, we ourselves are then carried forward by that appreciation. Even we may not be able to do. Like in the West, I'll sometimes have these house programs and stuff a little bit, and I'll kind of play with everybody's mind for a little bit, and I'll set the scene, and then I'll tell them, of course, you need to approach someone who has experienced prema. So I'll set the thing, prema being love of God, and then I'll tell them, yes, I have experienced prema. And it's like a total setup. It's just like, It's like, how can he say that? They're sitting there thinking, how can he say that? He's just explained all this stuff about Mahaprabhu, and now he says he's experienced prema. It's confusing to them, and I do it on purpose. And then I go on to explain it. When I experienced the prema, it's actually 3 times or more, actually. And then they're just like, oh, gee, what's this guy been smoking? What kind of medicine is he taking? It's like, and then and I'll do it to get them like suspicious, like, now what? Understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll explain that, well, that prema wasn't coming from me. You see, it wasn't coming from me. One time it was coming from Prabhupada, and I was in the room and I saw that prema, and I experienced that prema. It's like flash goes off in the room. You're not flashing. You're not even the main part of the flash, but you saw the flash, right? And some of that hits you. So you have some experience of the flash, but you're not the flash. You're not the cause of the flash. The flash not coming from you, yet part of that flash came to you for a flash. You saw what it is. I say, and the same thing with Sridhar Maharaj, same thing with Srila Puri Maharaj. So on multiple occasions, from 3 different sources, I experienced prema.
Krishna's Babaji as well.
Krishna's Babaji the 4th. So, and then what? Then you serve that source. That's what you do. If you don't, well, then you're saying you experienced it, you didn't. You don't experience prema and walk away. It's as simple as that. It's just like, you don't walk down to the Kaveri to wash your clothes and find a pot of gold coins and leave it sit there, do you? And come running back, I found a pot of gold coins. You don't come running back empty-handed to say the pot of gold coins is over there. You immediately swoop it up, put your chudder over it, and go off somewhere with it and tell your friends or family, wow, look what I found. Right? You do not experience prema. You don't come into that world consciously and understand what it is and walk away from it. You embrace it. And unless we commit Vaishnava aparad, unless we offend the Vaishnavas, we will continue to embrace that world of Krishna, the devotees, and love of Krishna. We will continue to embrace that throughout our life. We may have ups and downs. I've had ups and downs. Everybody's had ups and downs. Even Prabhupada would tell you he's had ups and downs in his life. So many days he had to struggle with his family. He wasn't chanting, wasn't reading, wasn't preaching. He was arguing with his wife, who was very uncooperative. Not a devotee, spoiled the children, not devotee. But he had to deal with that. So he wasn't in Krishna consciousness all the time, was he? He was dealing with this world. So he would, in his own words, say, this is some like downtime when I couldn't serve my guru, when I couldn't engage fully in the Sankirtan. So ups and downs are there. The point is the ups should outweigh the downs. Understand? Sridhar Maharaj said, falling down is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a good thing. But if it humbles us, then falling down may also be a good thing. I know people who were gurus, who were acharyas, who had thousands of disciples, who left Krishna consciousness and they're still as puffed up as ever. Every once in a while they pop up and there's an interview with them and it's just like, gee, 30 years they have learned nothing. No humility. No self-analysis. That the fault is in me. There's a problem in me. So even they're fallen, they're still as arrogant as ever. And someone else may fall down in whatever manner, usually involving the regular principles or something, but they will regain their status and feel themselves embarrassed in front of Krishna. They have fallen, their sincerity, it's like a cleansing going on. And they can move forward from that point. But until they realize they're wrong, until they feel that personal shame in front of Krishna, they can't go forward. I have few godbrothers. I hate to say it, but I have few godbrothers like that. So Sridhar Maharaj, one boy came and sat in front of Sridhar Maharaj, said, "Oh, Guru Maharaj, I'm very fallen." He said, "Good. You say that, you're very fallen. Say it.
I'm very fallen.
That's good." And then he says, "No, I mean like I'm breaking the rules. I'm very fallen. I'm very fallen." That's good. Sridhar Maharaj keeps telling him that's good. So the devotee, he doesn't understand. So he's trying to explain to Sridhar Maharaj, but I mean like I'm like fallen. I'm not just like, I'm really fallen. I am fallen. Sridhar Maharaj said, that is good. If you genuinely feel that way, it doesn't matter how you got there. If you feel that, that is good. Now, it's best to feel fallen without falling. You don't have to say, yeah, I got to feel falling. Get some wine, get some Kentucky Fried Nuggets. Let's go out, Gosai got, hoot and shout, and eat chicken and drink booze. And then come back, yeah, I'm really fallen. It's just like, not only are you fallen, you are now beaten. Boom! You know, but the point is that one has to come to the point of feeling fallen, insignificant, and feeling that one needs the mercy of Krishna. And whatever you have to do, and sometimes God has to bounce you like a ball off the ground, banging your head to the ground before you finally wake up to the reality that you're very small, very insignificant. We are always dependent on Krishna, and we are very fallen. However, you have to get to that. How so be it. That was Sridhar Maharaj's move. But once you have that, it's genuinely. Remember the story, Haridas Thakur goes into the jail. He's arrested, put in the jail, all these other prisoners that are in there. So they all think, oh, a great saint's coming, this is get his blessing. So Haridas blesses them to stay in the jail. And they're like, what? A blessing means get out of the jail. No, if you get out of the jail, you do nonsense again. Now you're in the jail, you're living good life, not doing nonsense, and you're being very humble. This is good for you. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Right. No, I want freedom. People don't deserve freedom. They got freedom. What do they do with the freedom? India's a free country. Now you do any damn nonsense you want. The United States is a free country. Do any damn nonsense you want. On it goes. And then suddenly you wake up one day and you realize, wait a minute, somebody's taking my freedoms away. Yes. You abused your freedom. Now Maya is taking your freedom away. You'll get communism, you'll get fascism, you'll get socialism, you'll get so many things. Maya will come and take away the freedom. So for 100 years plus, the United States, a new part of the world, a new country, 3 times the size of India. Do you know what this means? A country was created 200 years ago, 3 times the size of India, that didn't exist 400 years ago. The world changed. And they rose up to be the #1 superpower in just a period of a couple hundred years, and are going into this rate of decline, down on all levels. You want to be like America? They're number 37 in healthcare in the world. Number 37. Uganda's ahead of the United States. Education, they're like 42. You know, Zimbabwe and Africa's ahead of the United States. What do you say when people in India feel they want to be like the United States? Do you know what you're talking about? They're behind in almost every social field in the world except one.
Obesity.
Military.
Obesity.
And obesity. You have never seen so many big, fat, giant pigs in your life. Makes every man and woman here look skinny. People that are so fat, the backside won't go in this chair. You know? Huge, beastly people. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 are like that. And on it goes. And poor quality of education. Very poor quality of health care. Poor quality, just the list goes on. You get into that on the internet, look it up and see the statistics, how they're rated in the world. Even countries like Uganda are ahead of America. Why you want to be like America? You're thinking you want to be like America that before it started into decline. Right? But look closely and you will see a country that misused its freedom. It got freedom It escaped tyranny. It escaped high taxation. All these things. And over a period of 200 years, it went into complete biblical degradation. Sodom and Gomorrah. In the biblical, there's two cities. These cities are nonsense. Sodom and Gomorrah. Homosex, sex, incest sex, just animalistic. In the Bible, then those cities are destroyed. America has reached that level of morality, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Misuse of freedom. So freedom is only valuable for those who know how to use it. Otherwise, it's like a knife. A knife is only safe in the hands of one who knows how to use it. The lady's cutting subji in the kitchen. You give it to a 3-year-old to play with, it's a lethal weapon. They may be blinded, stuck, stabbed, hurt, injured, or even killed. So freedom is as dangerous as it is valuable. If it's not in the hands of those who know how to use it, they misuse it, and it creates suffering. It creates hardship. It creates losses. If freedom is used properly, then it leads to ultimate liberation of the soul. So some people don't deserve it because they don't know how to use it.